Welcome everyone to Satsang today. Namaste. And happy Thanksgiving to those celebrating too. So sometimes the self, the infinite being, has its kind of mood. Sometimes it tends to, and you might notice this yourself, show itself more as wisdom and insight or an epiphany. Sometimes more as just pure stillness, silence. And of course, all these are the same thing, but and sometimes it will show itself as compassion or kindness or generosity. However it's showing up for us today is how it's showing up for us today. And each time it shows up, we show up as it. There's something new and fresh in that. And today, for me, it's really showing up as love. And I meant to get so much done this morning before we got on this meeting. And it ended up me just sitting there on the sofa, just kind of smiling and giggling. And there may have been a little head nodding and maybe even some drool, who knows. And the result of that is that I really need to, well, I don't really have any needs or even many wants these days, just some kind of, it would be nice if feeling. And so I'm going to say I need to, but it's not really true. I need to somehow try again to share with you just how much I love you, because I don't know if you really know. And I want to try to make sure that I can do my part to tell you how much I love you. Because speaking as the self, there is nothing but love here for you. And that's all there is, the self. So it may not have actually occurred to you fully, maybe, just how magnificent you really are. Maybe you're still caught in the idea, to whatever extent that you are, as someone joining this satsang, trying to get somewhere and trying to find peace or love or joy. And maybe that's your experience right now. Your experience might be the exact opposite of peace, love, and joy. So I want to try to tell you how much I love you, because you need to know. You need to know who you really are. You need to know that who you are, what you are, is the formless essence of love. That the emptiness that you really are is just so magnificently full to bursting of love. And I'm going to keep telling you more times than you need to hear, because I needed to hear, and I still like to hear what I really am, what you really are. And if you're sitting there listening to this and your mind is saying, you know, she loves me because she doesn't really know me. If she really knew me, she wouldn't love me. I have to say that you're utterly wrong, completely. You couldn't be more wrong, actually. Because I do know you. I know you better than you know yourself. Perhaps you've only really met your thoughts about yourself, and you're experiencing those thoughts over and over again. Perhaps thoughts that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve to be loved or loving, that you're not capable of such a rich and deep love as you might be hearing expressing itself right now. And nothing could be further than the truth. When you say that you love me or you love anyone, whenever you've uttered those words, You're actually declaring that about yourself. Did you know that? And whenever I fall in love with myself, I'm falling in love with you deeper. And we're having this kind of infinite love affair that continues to deepen forever, where you continue to surprise and delight me with how you're showing up as me, as you, as all of this world, as everything that was, is, and ever could be. So if you feel that I only love you because I don't really know the things that you would rather me not know, also, you know, the little secrets we all have that we feel that if everyone knew those things about us, that we wouldn't be lovable still. But you know, this self that is love, it absolutely sees through all of that. It recognizes that anything we feel we've done or said that's less than loving is really only reality filtered through thoughts, appearing to be less than loving actions and words. And you're never harsher with anyone than yourself. You talk to yourself probably in ways you wouldn't dream of speaking to anyone else. So I have to tell you, I need to tell you what you really are. Did you know that you're a stunning sculpture made out of divine essence? Did you know that there could never be anything imperfect or wrong about you? Sometimes I get a little almost frustrated with the limitation of words, because that's all I have, my energy, my love, and these words. But I know that they're enough, that they're piercing through something even now. And if you're also sitting there thinking that, well, she loves me as the formlessness, she doesn't love my form, my appearance, my mind, my body. It's easy to love the emptiness of being. I have to say that even now, I love whoever you're appearing as, whatever you're appearing as, whatever's going on in your mind, whatever is going on in your body, in your life, in your relationships. There's only the reflection of the thoughts you're holding about yourself, because everything is you. And I'd invite you to consider that all the awakened beings, the saints, the sages, every teacher that's ever taught, everyone that you've ever admired, every hero you've ever had is also you, too. So I have to tell you, because it may not be apparent. You may be still entranced by what your mind is telling you and giving you more, giving it more validity than these particular words. But these words are coming with an energy, a vibration that is way above the mind. Mind might be doing its thing, trying to resist this, but it's going in anyway. Why? Because you are already this love. You are already the self. And there's no such thing as mind really to get in the way. There's no way for me that you're supposed to be. I don't even actually need you to be enlightened or anything. I don't need you to change. The real you doesn't need to change anyway. It's only some arbitrary goal, isn't it, that's been kind of put upon us by our mind, based on this idea that imperfection is possible for you, that flaws are who you are, that you are something less than you originated as. What if that's a complete pile of what if that's completely not true? So if you can maybe accept these words, that there is already something within you appearing as this external body-mind, appearing as an external body-mind, voicing what you really want to tell yourself. That you're unconditionally loved and accepted even now. And not even loved and accepted because you're on the pathway, just loved and accepted because that's all the real you can actually do. Totally free to be whatever you are appearing as in the body and mind, in the manifestation. And there's no impetus at all to reject or change anything about you. Even when we all have these judgmental thoughts about others and ourselves, even then, even when the thought arises, I should not be judging by now. Still, even this thought is impeccably loved by who you really are. And this here is a manifestation of you to tell you what perhaps you haven't let in any other way, or maybe what perhaps you haven't let in fully as yet. Can you let this in deeper? Can you let in the possibility that you are so completely loved? That love does not need anything from you at all. That it looks at you as if you are this divine sculpture, like we would look at the most amazing sunset that you've ever seen, or a perfectly formed newborn baby, or the most moving, stunningly beautiful piece of music you've ever heard in your entire life, or the greatest work of art that's ever been done, whatever that is, as if there could be only one, something like that. What if you're already being loved? Your ego, your mind, your separate sense of someone is already being loved that completely, totally. And all that's really happening here in Satsang, in awakening, is that you're coming to understand that you're looking from that place more than you're looking at that place of love. Could that be the thing we've been most wrong about, actually? That we somehow need to get back to this essence? Could you be so full already and radiant that I have no option but to be completely enamored with you, fixated, obsessed with you, because you are my very own self? And words like these, you won't hear them in many other places than in this kind of teaching or satsang, or this directness. Maybe you're more likely to hear the direct opposite, that you do need to change and you do need to be different. And maybe you're hearing that from your own mind, first of all, and all the external voices that seem to agree with that. But there is this external voice and countless others that are willing to tell you the truth. That you are infinite, formless, appearing as all of these forms just for the sheer love of it, the joy of it. To create these shapes, and in this shape as a human being, somehow the ability to discern, compare, evaluate, which then somehow allows us to get lost in the idea of opposites for quite some time. How many thousands of earthly years in different bodies have we been carrying this idea that you're something less than perfect? What would that be like if today was the day that you dropped that fully? Or made a commitment to yourself that these words are more important than your mind's doubts and feelings of unworthiness. That you'll make more of an effort to remember what is true about yourself than what your mind says, or some external reflection of that. As when we're sure that we're not good enough, it shows up everywhere in our life. Life has no option but to agree with what you're giving validity to. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this talk without losing it, so I'll do my best. And isn't that really the function of a body that appears as a teacher, to remind us of what we've forgotten, or what seems far away, or what we still think we're traveling to, not living from and as already? The immediacy of that you are already that love. But you've been so enamored with thoughts that that's where the focus has been, and that's where the experience has been then because of that. That all that's happening is the focus is going from looking at the thoughts to looking back at itself, this love. That there is a love already that's so perfect and complete that it doesn't understand the word imperfection. There is no opposite to perfect. We've all experienced that, haven't we? An opposite to perfect. We've all experienced an opposite to fear, to peace rather, which is fear. We've all experienced a lack of joy, a lack of self-confidence, self-reverence. What happens if we can accept right now that those were just echoes of our mind's opinions that we give importance to for however long we did that? But today could be the day, right now could be the time that these words that are being spoken, and with every sentence that's ever walked this planet has said about you, is more important than your mind's ramblings, until you know from your own heart too that what's being said here is absolutely true. So I really do love you. I hope you can feel just a little bit of how much you are utterly and totally loved. And when I say me, I don't mean this body and mind sitting here in this chair, although that too. That the whole universe is trying to love and support you because it is you. And it just has to reflect back to you what you think is true. In the moment that we're willing to let go of that, it begins to support you in every single way it can, which is a lot because you are infinite. This whole universe, in fact, is your creation that you made out of joy. You made me, you made everyone on this Satsang. You made everyone in existence, everything in existence, everything that doesn't exist. You've been really busy. So I'd like to somehow, if I could, swap experiences with you for a moment. If you could be in this body and mind, technically you are, of course. If you could be here just for 1 nanosecond and feel the immensity of this love that I have for you, you would be utterly, completely transformed. You could not go back to your own body and mind and say, that was nice, but I'm going to kind of keep traveling towards this imaginary destination where I finally love myself. It just wouldn't be possible. All goals would stop. All self-punishment would stop. All lack would stop. All unworthiness would be gone completely. So all of this, all of these words are really just an attempt to get you to open up to what I feel for you. And it's not really a feeling, but that's the only word I've got. You are so awe-inspiring. You're so complete. You're so playful, joyful, free, endless creativity. Just for the freedom in that, freedom to experience yourself whichever way. You're totally, utterly magnificent. There's something inside you is kind of cringing as you hear this and trying to kind of shrink away from it. That's okay. I love that too. I love the part of you that can't even accept these words because I know it's also me. There's nothing I don't know about you, and that shouldn't be terrifying. And I don't mean that I know everything that's going on in your lives, of course not. I know every thought that's going on in your head, of course not. But I know that you spend most of your lives in self-rejection, in unworthiness, in fear, from this idea that you somehow split it away from me, the self. I was playing around with the Zoom settings this morning, and I found this little option where you can hide people who aren't showing their camera. And I don't do that anyway, because I like to see you all here. It gives me a real sense of community, family, all of that. But the option above that was hide self-view with a capital S. So it wouldn't show, you know, I wouldn't see my own camera or reflection, all of that. And I just started laughing when I saw it. I thought, wow, isn't that what we're all suffering from? Hiding the self-view from ourselves. Never fails to astound me how life has these little jokes. And when you're able to kind of see it from that way. So please don't hide your self-view. You are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We're exquisite, stunning, gorgeous. Every time I try to tell you how much I love you, I always end up with this feeling that I didn't do anywhere near what I wanted to or say or express. But I hope the trying, the kind of flailing around is enough to inspire within you a kind of willingness to look again, to be completely wrong about what you are already. You've never been imperfect, nor could you ever be. Anything made out of perfection is perfection, appearing as an unfolding manifestation through time and space. And if you look at any point and that unfolding, you look at this point here that you're at today in your mind and body and your life, compare it to this one a year from now, it's easy to say, well, I'm less than I want to be or need to be. When I look at this here, this is evidence I'm not where I need to be. But from the self's perspective, it's just like this. Endlessly, forever. And it's more like watching you unfold is like watching the best movie ever that I've ever seen. It's an endless movie. And there's a few dramas and tragedies at the start, like any good movie, just to get the suspense going. And then it's just this epic love affair unfolding forever. where all I can do is fall more hopelessly in love with you. Because I know who you are. I don't see your thoughts about yourself. I see yourself, your real self, shining through already. Not when you achieve awakening, not when you let go of lack, not when you feel worthy enough, not when fill in the blank. Already, right now, this moment, there's just pure, brilliant light shining as you already. It's dazzling. It's so utterly bright. Sometimes I just want to kind of do a 6-hour epic satsang where, you know, I just sit here and tell you over and over again until even your resistance begins to fade and you start to really accept it. And I know probably we don't have 6 hours, but, you know, maybe one day, or maybe that's what we call retreat. And we see that time and time again in retreat. For the first day or so of the 5 or 6 days, there is this resistance. You know, everybody shows up at retreat like this. And they're kind of, as I'm talking. And then by day 2 or 3, it's kind of, and then, you know, 4 or 5, everyone's just kind of sobbing and hugging each other and crying. And it's just beautiful. Why does it need to take 5 days? Why not now? So I hope that these words become more important to you than your own mind's sayings about you. It has its mantras about you, doesn't it, mind? And they're transfixing. They're enticing, they're seductive, they're attractive, they're appealing. But maybe the power and the authenticity and the truth that are coming with these words are breaking through something. I know they are. I can feel it. And I hope that it becomes, or maybe already is, the most important thing to you, that you come to recognize and feel these words as true in your own heart. That your own opinion of you is more important than mine or anyone else's or your mind. That you won't rest until you've seen so clearly and completely what I've already seen about you. Would you do that for me? Would you try to make that your priority? Maybe it already is, and that's amazing, but if not, maybe that's the only thing we're suffering from as a species, and therefore the world is suffering from. This tendency to give more credence to, importance to the voice in our head in the voice of truth. And maybe there's already enough power within you to step away from that with an absolute decision. Do you know what I mean by an absolute decision? A moment of, like, I remember it in my own satsang. This moment of just being done. I'm done with this. I'm done. I will pay whatever it costs to realize the absolute truth about myself. That no whispering or shouting from the mind is going to be more important. Temporarily, yes, we listen to that, right? You know, we go with that thought. But then coming back to sanity, wait a minute, that's not true. And I really want to find out what is true, you know? So there is my latest attempt to convince you. And I hope it's been effective. I hope you realize a little bit more maybe today of the beautiful mystery that you are. And I hope you fall in love with finding that every day in every way it wants to show itself as you. So I will open it up for questions. I want to read one or two of these that have been sent in. I'll take up to 4 questions online as well. If you want to raise your hand now, you can. We'll start with this first question. It says, hello, Helen. I know this is going to sound strange, and although I am very desirous of awakening, meditation and self-inquiry have little to no interest for me at all. Maybe, although interest isn't the right word, maybe pull would be a better choice of words. Something just doesn't open up there. The curiosity to see what happens isn't there. I can't tell if this is my ego blocking me, or is this just that it isn't the right entry point? I found the most experiential sensation of oneness for me in the past has happened in nature. But I would guess everyone has that history. Any other practices besides self-inquiry and meditation that you can suggest? I don't want to have to experience an NDE to get closer to a shift or awakening, lol. Much love and thanks. Yeah, it shouldn't really be necessary. I mean, some people do have a near-death experience to experience this kind of epic love that you are. But so I want to answer this, I want to put a different twist on it. You said you're very desirous of awakening. And I would like to, you say then that meditation and self-inquiry have little to no interest. And I'd like to say that those 3 things are synonyms for me: awakening, meditation, self-inquiry. You could throw in contemplation there as well. So there is a different spin put on those if you see that they could be synonyms, because absolutely I agree that it is resistance. So your mind really wants, your whole self, your whole being really wants awakening, but your mind is defending against that deepening by rejecting. And I'm being right there where you are. I remember thinking that meditation was the most boring thing on this planet. I had that first freebie where first time I sat to meditate, there was just this infinite bliss and deepening and peace. And it was just, there was definitely drooling that day for sure. But then after that, meditation was just boring and dull and repetitive, and I wasn't getting anywhere and didn't have the slightest clue what self-inquiry was. All I could really understand about self-inquiry was something I'd read from Ramana Maharshi, or a book that had been written of his teachings. And it didn't seem to make any sense. It had no appeal for me at all, none. But when I kept hearing these teachers and sages saying meditation is the answer, self-inquiry is the most direct way to freedom, and I'd had enough suffering, I was like, okay, maybe I've got the wrong idea about these things. So I would suggest some contemplation. You could even sit with the question, what really is meditation? Maybe I haven't really understood it fully. And I'm not saying for a second that I know what it is. It's showing itself to me each and every day. We could also insert awakening, enlightenment, love, reality in those words, synonyms for meditation, all of that. Self-inquiry. Maybe I don't really know what self-inquiry is. You may also find it easier to ask, is there resistance to this? Am I resisting? Is that why there's no interest in it? Because yes, you can have that experience of reality in nature, but we can't always be in nature. And the whole idea behind Satsang, as I'm sure you know, is to experience that same reality that we are consciously, effortlessly, continuously, when we're in the office, when we're fighting with our kids or whatever's going on, when we're running late for work, when we don't have enough money, whatever's going on, So not just in a certain situation or place. I don't have any other practices to share with you, only to say that maybe to share, to take a fresh look at what's already going on, what ideas you've got going on about meditation and self-inquiry, and to be willing to consider that they may be the same things as awakening. There's been no end point to me to meditation. Meditation is what I am being right now, this open kind of question, space, beingness, consciousness, presence that's just continuously, effortlessly allowing whatever emerges to emerge, to exist for however long it exists for, and then to merge, disappear, dissolve back in. So I hope that helps. Okay, may I read another one depending. So we'll go to Rowena first, whenever you're ready. Are you ready, Rowena?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I was
there
just
we go.
trying.
No worries.
Hi, Helen. It's nice to see you again. I haven't been here for ages. So yeah, it's really nice to join you today. And I just wanted to thank you so much for your message and say, I really love you. And yeah, it was just such a beautiful message today. And I was crying all the way through. So yeah, it really did move me. And it's more of a share really, just that. And then saying that in my own meditation before this Satsang this morning, I guess like my mind is quite distracted at the moment, and it's partly actually the reason why I'm not sharing my self view today as well, is that I had like some surgery on my face yesterday, so yeah, I'm just feeling like a little bit kind of fragile at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess like in my meditation this morning, I was just asking, I guess like for the umpteenth time, like what is God, and what am I, kind of in tandem with each other, and just really trying to listen. And I have helpful answers to those questions on some level, and also just trying to kind of open more deeply to that. So then joining Satsang today just felt like another answer to that question. So thank you very much for that. And it does feel like there's a lot of letting go that's been going on in my life after quite a few months of becoming aware of some resistance that had been there for a long time, and some holding that had been there for a long time. And for the first few months of this year, it was actually incredibly uncomfortable, even though there was lots of good stuff happening. That I just felt this increasing sense of pressure and discomfort and just dread and stress and all sorts of things. And then actually something really sad happened, that I lost my dad a couple of months ago, and it was so interesting that actually was the thing that helped me let go, and helped me kind of focus so much perspective on things. And there's just been such a kind of opening then to what's really important, and that's like recognizing who I really am, and not listening to all of those doubts and fears and the conditioning, like the deep conditioning that we're all tempted into all the time. So yeah, it's feeling like an extension of that. And then what you shared today, like I think for the last few weeks I've been feeling, I often get this when I have an opening, and it's been a very significant opening that I've had over the last couple of months, that then I'll kind of start becoming aware of those, those bits that are still not kind of, that are just there, like waiting to open more. And so I've been feeling this kind of dullness, and
that dullness, even that doesn't have to be kind of rejected, does it? Because it can be, there's an opening, more peace, more love, more joy, and then the next thing that's going to happen is something else might come to the surface that seemingly temporarily obscures the amount of love and joy and peace as it's being felt, and released. And that kind of dullness, or that sense that I've lost what I had last week, something like that. We can, if you sort of see how it happens, I have this deepening period, and then there might be something that happens in my life, or something that comes up inside me, that there's this period then of sort of intensely loving that thing, learning to love that thing, isn't there? And that kind of dullness comes with that for a while.
Yes, and that's a really nice way of putting it, because I know that there is still a little bit of resistance to that dullness when it comes up, because it's like, oh, I can't always be like it was before. But then even as that's been going on, there's been this deepening awareness of like, I haven't lost it, I can't lose it, it's always there, and that right now, it's kind of showing up as either like a dullness or like a resistance to the dullness, however it's turning up.
Yeah.
So there's
both of those usually, right? So the resistance, whatever's coming up to be looked at next, and the resistance to that, they're usually sort of hand in hand, aren't they?
Right. Yeah.
And recognizing this is how that love is showing up right now. And I don't like those things. I never will like feeling less peace, but temporarily. But can I accept that this is the process that's occurring? There's nothing going wrong in that, is there? That
Right.
because I've deepened it, this is now coming up. And then that dullness only has to last for a couple of seconds sometimes, rather than days, weeks, months, because we're these ideas, like you said, that I've lost ground, or I've gone backwards, or something like that. Whatever mind says, I'm feeling less peace today than I did 2 days ago. Well, it's because something is coming up that's no longer fits inside you, that wants to come back to peace itself.
Exactly. Yeah, and yeah, your message today just really helped me helped me be with that. And yeah, I had like a tiny like micro cry the other day, and I was like, oh, there's more to come. And so it was really nice to just let go of that today. So yeah, thank you so much.
Good. And I just want to say, I still don't like those things when they come up. It's not like I've reached this magical place where, woo, there's something to look at. It's or some part of me does, but some other part of me says, oh, not this again. That might never go away, but I can learn to love that as well, can't I? That there's always going to be this yes and no response when some deepening is ready to happen.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of that as being like a little child's self of some kind, and bringing compassion to it. Yeah, exactly. There's a big like part of me like that, so I'm kind of like, okay, that can be like a cute little toddler, I suppose. And I can
have your tantrum,
I can just relate to it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just eventually stopped expecting that to go, that then this illness just passed so much quicker. And there's clearer what you were saying. I loved what you were saying about I know I haven't lost it, it hasn't gone. And it was more available, that peace, that joy, even while something was coming up that felt quite terrible in the body, they were still more available then.
Yes.
Sounds like you're right on track.
Thank you, Helen.
If there is a track, I don't know. I love you too. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Nikki.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
Hi. A bit nervous, and that's all right.
Me too, don't worry.
So when you're talking, the consciousness recognizes that within me, and I feel at peace, I feel free. I get dragged off by my mind and my feelings and get dragged about a bit, and I want that freedom. I want to be totally free. Maybe it's my expectations of wanting to be somewhere. I'm not quite sure.
There is, of course, when you taste that freedom and that peace, of course you want it more, and of course you want it all the time, and of course you want it effortlessly. That's immediately going to be our desire, isn't it? The moment we've tasted it or even heard about it, so if you can begin by accepting that desire, but also accepting that your mind doesn't understand how you're going to get that, right? Mind doesn't get that, and it's okay. And if you look at the thing that you said, I get dragged off, I think you said, into thoughts and emotions and experiences happen that we would rather not happen. Well, life basically happens. And within perhaps a short space of time, that peace seems to have gone, and there's just confusion, fear, whatever's going on inside. So if you look then, what would that love do in that moment? What would that consciousness, as you called it, do in that moment? If I have been feeling really peaceful and I'm just focused on the emptiness of my being and everything's going, how it's going. And then the very next moment, some thought pulls my attention away and I start to feel this constriction in my body, and I'm having the exact opposite experience I was having 2 minutes ago. What would consciousness do then? When I really looked at that, it would just absolutely let that happen. It would totally offer no resistance to that. And it doesn't mean that we enjoy it, like it, or want it to go off in the mind, but consciousness itself would have no capacity to say, you should not be lost in your thoughts right now. Can you feel that difference? What we usually do is we side with our mind, who says you should not have lost that peace. And then the loss of peace is the reflection of our own self-judgment, not even the fact that we went with thoughts. If we went with thoughts fully, completely, totally went with it, gave into it completely, there'd be peace. Can you get a sense of that right now?
Yeah.
This one idea that you should not have let that happen, or something like that, is the cause of all of this. What if you couldn't blame yourself next time that happens? Because it will, right? 10 minutes after this satsang, 10 hours, 10 seconds, who knows, right? Something will happen. What if you kind of practice just going, okay, that happened. And then that's all your conclusion you draw about it. It happened. I went with my thoughts. Or I really identified as a separate being for however long that was. How would the consciousness, literally being the self, being the consciousness in that moment, what would it say about it? Meh, okay.
It'd allow it to be.
Yeah, totally. And it couldn't do anything other. So this one simple but profound shift as to how I was handling those moments, it was the real turning point for me. Real turning point. Like, they're gonna happen. There's times when life or someone else or some emotion pulls you into identification with it. But you don't have to lose your peace while that happens. In fact, you can even experience bliss while you're totally lost in thoughts, if you're not resisting at all, because the peace and bliss is how much you're resisting what is. And mind thinks, because I'm focused on the emptiness now, that's why I feel so good. But if you were totally focused on the thoughts without any resistance at all, you would feel exactly the same. You can play around with this a bit, yeah?
Yeah, thank you.
And when you forget what I've just said, also be kind, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you. Okay, so I'll read one more question here online if there aren't any more live questions. So this one says, I have been asking, where am I? But I feel like ego is skipping over the question and not really acknowledging it. Thank you. So this person has been asking this self-inquiry question that I found particularly powerful in my own journey. This question, where am I? I've also used what am I, which is really powerful too. Who am I? Didn't really kind of do it for me. Somehow it just caught me tangled up in the mind. Absolutely, it works for some beings, but they've been asking this question, where am I? You said, I feel like ego is skipping over the question and not really acknowledging it. So can you expect your ego to acknowledge this powerful question? What is it about you that feels a resonance with this question, where am I? Is it going to be our egoic sense of self, our mind? Or is it going to be the consciousness, the self, the love that we already are, that is drawn to such a powerful question? So we're asking this question, where am I? And I don't feel like it's been given the reverence or the importance or the time and space, maybe something like that. Maybe that's what you mean by this. It's skipping over it. Or it's just kind of going, yeah, it's just a, question, ego. But ego can't really understand the importance of it. And it also can't receive the answer to a question like this. Because question is going to bring answers that are of several types. Same with contemplation as self-inquiry. So if I ask the question, where am I? First thing, I'm going to get lots of thought answers. I'm here, in this body. Even more profound thought answers like, I don't know, actually don't know where I am. Emotional answers, positive, negative emotions are going to come. Sensations in the body. I used to get goosebumps when I asked this question. And all of these answers are coming. They'll be different for each one of us. Maybe one of the answers you get is a real resistance, a sense of dismissing of the question, like you're saying, you're pointing to here, skipping over the question. Maybe that's an answer too. And not really acknowledging it. I don't really want to let the fullness of this question into my heart, into my being. So can you look at it that way? Can you say that the way ego is responding to this question is a part of the answer? So where am I? I'm also right where this egoic sense of self is, and is currently resisting or doing whatever it's doing with this question. But for the most part, I wouldn't be bothered at all about whether your ego is acknowledging it or even willing to sit with it or get the answer, receive the answer, because it really can't. Perhaps the most important thing I want to say is that it does not matter whether your mind, ego, gets this at all, or values this question, or finds it attractive or appealing. Maybe ego's only response is to reject a question like this because it's so utterly life-changing, or any powerful contemplative self-inquiry question. Maybe the only thing it can do is kind of look at it and go, oh, I've asked that before, didn't really get any answers last time, it's not going to be any different this time. That's certainly what happened when I started with this question. But who you really are, I'm not even going to say is receiving the answer, because that is the answer. The answer that's, it's not the only answer. There are all different types of answers, thoughts, emotions, etc. But who you really are is the only permanent answer to this question. And maybe there are answers that are happening in your life that you haven't noticed. So I ask this question, where am I? And my mind might expect some kind of epiphany to happen here. Okay, I know where I am now, or I know that I don't know, or whatever's going on here. But maybe the answer to this where am I question is that I don't react with such anger towards this same being, or that I don't reject myself so much when I do react with anger. Because the experiential answer of being everywhere and nowhere at the same time is that I can't really identify with any particular body, mind, vehicle more than the other, or I have to identify with them all. And that won't be a conscious thought up here. It'll just be, there's more love and compassion and wisdom flowing through this body, mind, vehicle as a result of this question. So would you look for answers that might already be happening? Are you less unkind to yourself? Are you less judgmental of yourself when you do judge others? Are you letting go of emotions that come up easier? Are you feeling them more fully? Are you staying with a question longer than you would have, even if it's not interesting, if it's not being valued by mind, by ego. So maybe a really good question would be, what are the answers I'm not seeing right now? Or maybe even what are the answers I'm not realizing I'm already living? Because it really was that way for me. Somebody had to absolutely point out to me that I was not suffering anymore. And that may sound incredible, but I hadn't realized. Quite hilarious now. All this effort to get to a place where I wasn't suffering, and I hadn't noticed it had already occurred because I was so busy running down the road trying to get there still. And you could be experiencing the same thing right now. You could have gone right past the end of suffering, trying to get there still. So what are the answers that you're not noticing? Because they are there. And they won't be valued by ego, as you said. You'll have to kind of develop this curiosity to see them. Could you be really actually living in a very different way to what you thought? If something has taken this question, valued it deeply, become it, is living as it, this unknowing, I don't know where I am. I'm also here, but I know I'm not only limited to that, I'm everywhere. Can't find myself in one particular location. Or I have to admit I'm in every location. Locations are happening inside me. So I hope that helps there. Okay, so we'll go to Elaine, and then we'll leave it there for today. Hi, Elaine.
Hi, Helen. I've had a couple of weird contemplations in sleep, where I've kind of been half asleep, and I've queried at the time whether I should wake up, sit up, do it properly, be more conscious. But there's another side of me that thinks, well, I'm really relaxed, and therefore I'm floating in and out. And there's like waves, at some point there'll be waves. Just an experience. And then the question changes. I seem to have a kind of, the thought comes, oh, you're supposed to ask the question or stay with the question. And I find that it changes and it becomes kind of amusing, and it gets abbreviated. And so this morning was really lovely to hear, because I may start off with fear, shame, envy, something like that. And it always ends up with a longing for love. All that shame is about love, or all the envy is love. And I think I just end up with this word I, or I love. And then there's this thing, do I mean it as a noun or a verb? And then it's got to be all. So
That's so beautiful what you just said. It's so beautiful. I just end up with this word I, or I love. And it's I don't know if it's a verb or a noun or a state of being or all of those. Like, wow, how I can show up as that. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I also had to, because that was just so, like, did you hear what came out of your mouth then? That was amazing. That was love speaking, wasn't it?
Yeah. I need to have that pointed out to me. Yeah, I think what you were saying about having, where you were being pointed out to you, somehow my hand had to go up because I needed to hear that from
and
me.
it's not always obvious, is it? When we're in the middle of something so beautiful, sometimes I want to just kind of extract little bits out of what every questioner has asked and put those on a, maybe we'll do that. We'll just anonymously, but take out little bits of what some people have said in the questions, sent in and, live like this. And there's these stunningly profound statements. All I'm left with is this I love. It's like, that's like scripture. That's like poetry. That's like music to me. It's just so beautiful that I just had to say something.
Yeah. I think that's all I wanted to say as well.
I couldn't think of any way to put it better than that. There's some wild and wacky, really kind of trippy contemplations I've had, self-inquiry sessions, meditations, whatever you want to call them, during the time, when the body's much more relaxed and the mind's more relaxed and it kind of half awake, half asleep. And I was kind of giggling when you said, should I sit up and do it properly? Because I remember that feeling. I'm not really doing it properly here. I'm just kind of, I came to the conclusion, what, this feels really nice. I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah, that was it. And it was fun. It was amusing, and it was making me laugh in ways, questioning love. Is it two? Is it B? Is it? It's love. Oh. So, yeah. I mean, if I could now, I want to engineer that, of course. I want to but I don't think it's got anything to do. It is happening more in.
Yeah, and what does that say about you? If what runs through your mind when you're half asleep is to self-inquire or contemplate, that's like a very deep and profound awakening already happening. Most human beings, what runs through their mind in the middle of sleep is, did I turn the oven off? What do I need to do at work tomorrow? Why can't I seem to break through this thing? So there's this kind of saturation of even the sleep state with this love of contemplation that you kind of really broke through last time we spoke. Do you remember we came to the conclusion that shame and love might be the same thing?
Yeah, well, they did. when I was relaxed enough to look.
Yeah. And maybe it's just easier right now to do more of it in that kind of sleep state, and it'll just gradually become more like that in the waking state. Like, what if we throw out the idea there's a proper way to do this? And just see what happens. Which way does it want to happen right now? Contemplation. Maybe it's happening as this conversation right now.
I had a phone conversation with somebody I hadn't spoken to for a while. They actually said to me at the end of it, you were talking in a way you didn't a year ago.
So it's not only me pointing it out, it's everyone.
Well, that one person. Okay.
And will you remember that more than next time your mind says you're not getting this yet?
Well, I immediately, I had that, but when I was in the waking, I was having all kinds of tantrums about, I'm deluding myself. This isn't real. This is just, whatever. I was just, thank goodness it comes in sleep.
It'll just come the easiest way right now, and the most non-resistant way we have. Sometimes that's in a dream at nighttime. Sometimes that's kind of this half awake, half asleep. But more and more, it'll just gradually make its way into your waking state as your waking state. Like, here you are raising your hand again, even though you probably really didn't want to, or it just happened, So it's breaking through anyway, isn't it?
Actually, it's not coming from behind now. It seems to be coming from the front.
Right through.
Right through. But anyway, I love you, Helen.
I love you too.
Thank you.
Thank you for being brave. Okay. So, very profound words from everyone today. I've got a real urge to do that, to take some snippets out what everyone else has said. And maybe we'll start to see that love already in action a bit more than we did before. So thank you. Namaste.